Well, hello everyone. Today I'm installing a Kohlefaser Luft-Technik system. It's a cold air intake system from ECS Tuning, and I've got the original components out. The original version was a Carbonio APR intake box carbon fiber that was being used, and I've decided to upgrade to the ECS version, which looks like a good version. When I was taking the mounting studs back here out to hold the original air box, or excuse me, the cover, the mounting studs essentially broke apart. So what I've had to do is borrow the two from the front, because they're not used when you're doing this cold air intake system, because there is no engine cover installed. So I'm using the studs that I took out. These ones. So I'll use those to put the heat shield in. It says to hand tighten these, but mine are a little snug, so it's a 24 millimeter 24-point socket that I use to put the heat shield on, and I just did it very light tight. One thing the instructions don't mention is that on the back of those mounting studs there is a 10 millimeter nut that you need to hold as well, or you'll just spin the thread inside the internal thread, which will cause the internal threads to maybe be compromised. So make sure you're putting a 10 millimeter socket on the back side, so when you remove the stud it doesn't strip out or break apart. So this is the DV inlet pipe to the turbo. It's a very snug fit, so I'm just gonna put just a little bit of oils on there so I can get it down over the fitting. It's about the same size as, so it's got to be able to stretch out to get over that. Looks like there's a spacer, so that has to come off. I think this was inside of the plastic piece that I already took out, so that'll make the piece fit over. There was no way I was going to be able to get it over that. So make sure that you take this piece off so you just see pure metal. And that works much better. It's not coming off. Now we're going to place a 70 to 90 millimeter ring clamp onto the turbo inlet pipe. Now we're going to take our horizontal pipe, place this grommet into that. Now we'll take our flex coupler, put our two clamps on, do a little pre-tensioning so it's not so loose. Next step calls for reinstalling the mass airflow sensor. And they do provide two new screws. Uses a 2.5 millimeter hex key. Now we can reconnect the MAF sensor and reconnect the hose that goes to the diverter valve. Next thing we need to do is move these hose clamps so this side is pointing down on this side. Now we're going to take our grommets that came with our installation kit and put them into our carbon fiber box. And we can put it into these fittings here. We've got to tuck the front end under first. There'll be a little lining up to do here to get the two screws into the front. This one's also hard to access, so they've got a hole drilled out here so you can put the screw in through that direction. Now we'll use a 225. These are the snorkel screws. So I just taped the screw to the socket. Don't over tighten it, just don't crack it. Now we're going to go ahead and install the lower pipe and the filter, which I already just loosely assembled. I think I'm going to put the I just put the clamp on this side because I'd rather have it over there. So they have two methods to mount the bracket that's on the bottom of this pipe here to the mount below. I'm going to use this vibration damper because it's taller and I have a larger gap between the bracket itself and the place where I'm going to attach it. So this gives me enough room. Try not to drop it this time. And then we'll secure it with this nut, 10 millimeters. Now we can install our carbon fiber lid. So I got the cover fully installed and snugged down the screws, not too tight. The hardest part was actually getting the rubber sort of gasket to follow around the perimeter of the opening here for the lower pipe, the turn pipe there. So I was able to get that done. I used just an interior wedge tool, a plastic tool, so I wouldn't scratch anything up. But yeah, it's all installed and nice and snug. Cleaned everything up and gave everything wiped down with some microfiber towel and got the shine back on. Yeah, looks good. Pretty easy installation. Just a couple things to watch out for, but overall the instructions are pretty good. Just things to watch out for is these stud mounts in the back there. Those are one thing that weren't really described very well, so I was needed to get some more mounts. Fortunately I had 2 spare, but it saves me having to wait until the dealership opens tomorrow. Put this cover back on for the battery, and then we'll be all done with this job. Next thing to do will be the diverter valve replacement, and then I got some new hoses coming. We'll do that too. So here's the upper pipe. This is the turbo inlet pipe, which drops down right into the top of the turbo. Make sure you take that rubber fitting off. Got our diverter hose. We're going to replace the diverter valve next. We've got all the screws snug down around the box and around the pipe. All these hoses have been snugged down. We've got the extra screws over here. These have all been snugged down. And then this is where we put the vibration damper in at to account for the gap there. So everything went together really nice. Pretty cool project, looks great.